Well, obviously, first time I've seen you guys since the scrimmage on Saturday evening. We also practiced last night, so we've got good work under our belt since then. But overall, very pleased with the scrimmage in terms of the competitive spirit, the effort. Was good for the most part. I think we faded a little bit at the end. We need to keep our urgency and intensity, but a lot of physical play, a lot of toughness. And for the most part, a great opportunity for lots of players to learn, and that's the focus is. We did make some mistakes, but I think for the most part, it's technical. It's things that we can control, and we've got lots of players that had the opportunity to learn from those mistakes and really improve here in the next week. So very competitive on both sides of the ball. I think for the most part, the first units on both sides had some success. And lots of young players got lots of reps. And I think this was an opportunity for them to learn that type of environment relative to getting ready to play in a competitive situation this fall. So pleased with that. We do have some injury updates. We got out of there relatively healthy. Trevonte Booker's got a little bit of a knee. He'll be out just a little bit. Julius Perkins has a turf toe. That's lingering a little bit, and then Blair Brooks did break his hand, broke his third metacarpal, I should say. So he'll have a cast, but he will not be limited going forward. Sammy Ochoa was the only player that we withheld from the scrimmage. And he's got a little bit of a back issue, and it's all muscular, so we feel good about him at some point. We'll get him back here shortly. So overall, pretty healthy and pleased with that. With that, we can take some questions.
Is at center, is Prudhomme kind of your guy now, or is he still getting a little bit of a challenge after being out?
No, Cole has, obviously getting him back from the shoulder injury, missed part of spring practice, getting him back. He's really done a great job of really quarterbacking that room. He's a great leader. I think he's got a good grasp of our system. Very evident that he had a really good summer, and he has got back in position where he's the starter at center. We do have some quality depth there, though. Some guys got some valuable reps in the spring. That carried over, and we'll play Brewster at backup center, and we can still play Cunningham there as well. So quality depth there.
So if you guys are playing this week, on a scale of maybe 1 to 10 or how you would evaluate it, how ready do you think you guys are for if you guys had to play a game this week?
Well, that's a good hypothetical question, I'll tell you what. But, I think the big lesson here for our players is we don't play this week. And I think that we've got to focus on the things that we need to improve. There's certain areas on our team that we've got to get resolved. We're going to make some wholesale changes on some special teams units to kind of get some players in position to make improvement, accumulate reps. We've got great competition at lots of positions. There are some situations that we've yet to install that we've got to get refined, but in general, we need to focus on what's happening right now, and that's one day at a time, one meeting at a time, one walkthrough at a time, one rep at a time, and create some intensity and urgency this week as we head into our second scrimmage. We got lots of work to do before we get ready to play.
Has one of the kickers stepped ahead, or are they still close?
I think that we have a very competitive competition. We are impressed with the newcomer from Oklahoma, and he's certainly becoming a factor there. But certainly Calvin's doing well. He's done a good job. And those two guys are in a good battle here down the stretch, and we'll make that decision. A similar approach to the quarterback. As we get close to the game, that'll become more, a decision that we'll need to make.
You're 9 practices in. You talked about practices 15, 18 with the quarterback. Did either one of the two quarterbacks take a step Saturday in separating themselves?
I don't think it was significant. I think that both guys did a lot of things well, and both guys made some mistakes. I do think that both guys are proving that they're very capable, and I think that they're one of the bright spots relative to where we're at. We've got two quarterbacks that can go in there and operate with the first team and really have success. Both have different strengths, and certainly both have some learning to do relative to getting the game ready. But I think that we've got really two competent players there. No significant, changes relative to the competition.
Any particular area that you thought stood out?
I think overall defensively we've really improved our personnel. I think we've added more quality depth. It was a lot more competitive than maybe the scrimmages were, in the spring. And I think that's indicative of our entire team. But I think overall defensively is where we've added the most personnel, and that's pretty obvious when you're standing out there and watching it. So we're pleased with that part.
Just from your experience in the past, in terms of just making the transition from the scrimmages and the practices, what do the players need to do to just have that level of readiness for the first game to go from, going against your own teammate in practice versus being ready for that first game? It's just a different feeling.
Well, I think that it's just about having a little bit of foresight in terms of all these reps that we're getting, all these situations that we're teaching, all these concepts / tools that we're kind of getting ready, that we can pull from throughout the year. It's critical that they understand, that right now it's critical that you kind of put those in the bank, go store those away, put them in savings so you can pull them out down the road. And, as we narrow down a plan, each week preparing for an opponent, the detail that'll be required will be, way higher relative to where we're at right now. Right now we've got tremendous volume on both sides of the ball. So the variables is very high on both sides. But just the attention to detail and the foresight to see that all these things that we're doing now, we've got an ending in mind relative to that.
Any timetable on the guys who've been limited? Malone, Jaquette with a concussion, Elijah Mitchell, when they get back to 4 reps? Yeah,
Jaquette participated in the scrimmage non-contact. He's practicing that. We practiced that way again last night. The contact that he's going to take today will be a little bit more than maybe it was yesterday. We will take the black jerseys off of Raheem and Elijah at some point this week, and we'll prepare to scrimmage those guys 100% on Saturday. So those guys are right where we want them to be. I think in particular the conditioning level is what I've noticed is they're kind of getting back to themselves and getting used to the volume relative to practicing football at a high level. So we feel we're really pleased with those guys, and certainly Mike, he's ready to go as well.
What about Prudhomme and all of that? Was he black to begin with? Or?
No, sir. He's been, he's either in or out. He's got a shoulder, which is, specific to his position. So he's been 100% since the first day of training camp.
What did you see about your defense that you liked? You mentioned you said the defense kind of gave you some positive things to look at. So what did you see about the defense that you really liked?
Well, I see a competitive spirit. I see an energy level. I see competition at tons of spots. Great competition at corner, great competition at safety, inside backer. A couple of the defensive line positions, there's really good competition there, outside backer. So, and really the newcomers being the spark, relative to getting in position to play. We've just got more depth. So we're going to be fresher. We're going to be able to play more players. There's more role players, relative to, hey, guy might be a great third down pass rusher, might not be a first and second down player. We've got cover guys that maybe we didn't have in the spring. So it just makes, things a little more competitive for the offense.
Does Reese Byrne have a leg up on the punting competition?
He does. Yeah, he does. He's actually the only punter that we have in training camp. So. But he's actually done really well, and he's a unique athlete, man. He's the guy's just got a natural leg, and he's got a good skill set relative to the different things that he can do. Not only kicking it with the traditional spiral, but also the Aussie kick and the movement skills. So he's been a great addition to our roster, and certainly a guy that I think can play winning football for us.
Do you have to teach him how to tackle, or?
We do that, yeah, we do. But those guys over there, they get put in that position. He did. He's an Australian rules football guy his whole life.
But one more thing with that, who's the emergency?
One of the kickers that travels with us to be able to get us out of the game, and we've got a couple guys in our roster that can punt as well. So, but for the most part, that's not going to be an issue until we get to a situation where we've got to limit our roster to 70 with a conference road game, which we're fortunate this year not to have to do that for a while. So for the first, I think, 5 weeks, we'll have a second punter that'll be with us. At the point we get to where we got to go on the road and trim it up to 70, that's where maybe your backup kicker or someone else on the roster would have to be ready to get you out of a game.
Coach, what's the advantage of having those two coolers out there?
Yeah, well, we're fortunate to, take some of the money. We had it allotted for something else in the past. I think we were able to trim up the budget and use that money. It's really a rehabilitation tool that, my man Boudreaux hooked us up with. Same one that LSU has, Alabama has, New Orleans Saints have, South Carolina. So we were fortunate to be able to get that done. And it's a recovery tool. We put every player goes in there during the break time, and then we also use it as a post-practice recovery tool. And the goal there is to get the core body temperature down, and it helps with recovery.
In light of the Maryland stuff and all of that, and being where you are geography-wise, how important is that just in the back of your mind?
Yeah, absolutely. I think you got to give our nutrition staff, training staff, they've done a great job, and I think our practice format, we've went in the evening to avoid some of those issues, but I think in general we've had really good awareness and education by the support staff, and it hasn't become an issue for us. We had some issues early. I think maybe a little bit of that was anxiety, but our team had a good summer and they were ready to go.
You talked about wholesale changes to the special teams. That's everywhere else except for the specialists themselves.
Right.
Punters.
Yeah, just, movement relative to, getting guys in the right position. And after 8-9 practices, you've had a chance to observe all these new players. You kind of put them in a spot where you thought maybe they fit, that maybe didn't work out. So just adjusting the depth chart, getting guys in the right spots, making sure that they develop enough reps so they can do that job as we get closer to the game.
Personnel, not schematic.
Yes. Oh, yeah, personnel, yeah.
You mentioned before the possibility of using 2 running backs at a time, with Trey and Elijah both possibly in there. How much do you think that'll actually, is we just situation?
Yeah, I think a lot of it has to do with the health of our tight ends and the health of our H receivers, to be honest with you. I mean, it's kind of a contingency plan to some degree, but we also want to take advantage of the quality depth we have at running back. So you're going to see that, and how much, probably not smart for me to say how much, but we plan on using that group, and they certainly they can be very effective.
Coach, after the scrimmage on Saturday, can you go into details about some of the things that you want to work out before you go into your big season?
Yeah, I mean, I think overall we want more. We want to eliminate turnovers, eliminate mental errors. We want to eliminate loafs. All these things that have absolutely, they're 100% up to us. They're in our control. First way to win is not beat yourself. So improving in those areas, playing some of the situations a little bit smarter. I felt like maybe we didn't have a lot of awareness relative to some of the situations that we scrimmaged in, and then I think. Just improvement fundamentally, technique-wise. I think each position group has got kind of an inventory of things that they can do a little bit better. And, I think that comes with time. It comes with reps. But just want to see more intensity, more urgency, more attention to details. We kind of ramp up and build toward this second scrimmage.
How satisfied are you with where the O-line is at right now?
I'm very pleased with the O-line. I think we're kind of narrowing down the group of players that are going to be game ready. I think some of the contingency plans for injury, we have to start working some of those lineups that potentially could come about if a guy got banged up. But that's one of the strengths of our team. And I think the big thing for us there is to kind of plan for injuries and make sure that we've got some reps in the bank in case we run into that situation.
Couple more, please.
Would one of those contingencies be in Hunt going into guard if need be, or are you solid on him at tackle?
Yeah, no, he's proved to be an effective right tackle, but I think the big thing is, okay, Dotson gets hurt, okay, how do we move the pieces around? Center gets hurt, how do we move the pieces around? Just having one position at a time, what does the lineup look like if that guy goes down, and, okay, who are the best players? Do we have the best players out there? And then do they have enough experience doing that job? So, and that's kind of what we typically do this, next set of practices.
What about Middleton? Was he at the Mike in the spring, then went over to Will, or what's going on with him?
Yeah, Middleton is playing Will now, and he's there. He actually had a really good scrimmage and has made it very competitive here as of late with Lorenzo McCaskill. So we've got inside backer, we've got 4 really good players there, and all of those guys, would probably play if we played a game today. But we do have competition there, and I think that, that's one of the good things about competition is you get the best out of those guys.
Boudreaux's running ahead of Carter.
They're 50-50.
You've talked a lot about the fact that you've been able to develop some quality depth at several positions. Is there an area or two where you're still concerned about the quality of depth that you have?
Yeah, tight end, is a position where maybe we need a little more emergence, from that 3rd, 4th, 5th guy. And I think the good thing about what I've seen at tight end is Matt Barnes and Johnny Lumpkin have, they've transformed themselves and they've really improved as players. And they've had great training camps so far. So we've got 2 quality players there that both can play. You just want to see a little bit more out of that 2nd tier. And that's where the running back group comes into, becomes a factor. Okay, hey, rather than maybe put one of those guys out there, use one of those other backs.
And then how much does the competitiveness now help you guys on 3rd down defensively and offensively when you need to either get a stop or get a key first down?
Yeah, we've got more guys that can rush. I would say that we've made some of the, acquisitions that we made in the offseason are pass rushers, and certainly I think our defense is doing a good job in pattern matching, zone drops, making us hold the ball a little bit longer, and those guys have been able to affect the quarterback. So that in general has really improved that competition. And then obviously Coach Roberts and the variables that he presents, has really challenged our protections, and we've gotten really good work not only in practice but also these walkthroughs have been beneficial.
And what about that offensively on 3rd down?
Yeah, for sure. We're pretty much the same operation on offense in terms of personnel that we had in the spring. We've had a couple receivers emerge. Jamal Bell's really emerged the last couple of days, and he's proved that he could be an effective player for us and a guy who will, if he continues at the trajectory he's headed, he's a guy who could, earn a role and contribute to the team.